So I'm working on my kyosho Mad Force tonight. So right now this Mad Force is only two-wheel drive. Something went wrong in the front end, so I gotta tear it apart, see what's going on in there. So I'm gonna first start by taking the hubs off. There's really no need to separate the hex from the outer axle. Pull the dog bone out. Next you got to take the shock off. And then you're going to want to take the two screws, there's one top and bottom, that holds the trailing arm to the axle tube. And once those are out, that'll allow you to take this outer hub out. So now with those two screws that hold the trailing arm in place removed, you should be able to just pull this outer piece out. Just like that. And now we'll do the same to the other side. Alright, so right here I think you see the problem. Broken dog bone. So even though I found this broken dog bone, I'm still going to tear the rest of this axle apart, see if anything else will go inside there. Because these things are common to strip out the spider gears. And a popular upgrade is to add 4 instead of the factory, which comes only with 2. So I'm going to keep taking this apart. It's easy, just now slide these out and your axle's out right here. So now that I got the housing out, I can take out the screws all around the outside that hold it in place. Alright, so since there's so many small screws, it'd be a lot faster if instead of using this. Alright, now I'm playing with power. So once you separate it, looks like that. Now what's nice about the Mad Force, it comes with steel spiral cut gears right out of the box, so that's awesome. And they appear to be perfect. So this is the differential assembly. And everything seems to be working fine in there, but I'm going to take it apart and see what it looks like. Alright, so here's the moment of truth. Yeah, if you take a look, everything looks perfect in there. So, a lot of people upgrade this, and if you take a look, there's 2 spider gears, but there's provisions to where you can fit 4, so it's a good upgrade. You can put 4, it's a little bit stronger. So I thought that might have been a problem. It turns out it's not, and there's not even metal shavings in there, so everything's working good, but I got an upgrade for that right here. And this is made by Hot Racing, and it's a locker. It basically takes out those spider gears and locks the diffs. I got one front and rear, so if you're only using this thing in the dirt or in the sand off-road, locking the front and rear diffs is fine. Where it's going to be a problem is on pavement, or if you're riding snow, it might push a little bit as you turn. So, but I mostly use this thing in dirt, like loose sand, so locking the front and rear is going to be a good upgrade. So I'm going to take these spider gears out and install this. Alright, if you take a look, you'll see there's a pin right there. The way this works is the pin fits inside this locker, like so. So it's pretty simple and straightforward. Easy stuff. And then you just line up your 4 holes. And I don't really like to use power tools when I'm assembling something like this. So I'm going to switch back to my screwdriver. And in case you're wondering, this screwdriver is pretty neat. It's a set I got from Mac Tools. They come by my shop every Monday selling tools. So it's a screwdriver, and it comes with a set of basically every screwdriver, Allen, Torx, tamper-proof sockets, little ratchet, handle, and even a driver to go in your drill. So it's a nice set. And I'll probably put a little bit of blue Loctite on there too, just to make sure they don't come loose. And what I like to do is, the package that the part came in, I just set that down, put a little bit on there. And these screwdriver bits are magnetic, so it makes it real easy just to get a little bit of Loctite on there, and then assemble them to the part. So before I torque down the screws, I started them all loose. So now that they're all in place, now I'll go back and tighten them all down. Alright, so now that I got the locker and everything's nice and tight, and this differential's locked. One nice thing about having a locked diff, so the passenger side dog bone snapped, driver side did not. And what happened with the differential in there, it made it so it was only rear wheel drive. Now if this had a locker in it when that broke, front wheel still would have turned, or the left front would have anyway, not the right because it was broken. But so with a locker, if you snap an axle shaft, you'll still have the other side turning. So that's one thing I like about lockers. Now I'm kind of at a standstill because with this axle shaft being broken, there's a couple things I can do. I can either order a new one, or because it has a locker, I can put it together, missing this shaft, which is this one, and it'll still have front wheel drive because the locker will keep everything spinning. Or, because I have both pieces, I could just weld this back together. And I think I'm going to weld this back together. I'm still going to order a new axle shaft because I'd like to have, I'll probably order a couple just to have some spares. But since I have both pieces, I'm going to weld it together, and that should hold for a while. So I'm going to take a ride to my shop, get this thing all welded up. Alright, so I'm at my shop. I got my MIG welder all set up. I got the axle shaft and the vise. Here's the other piece. I got the broken piece and just a pair of vice grips. So all I'm going to do is just MIG weld it together. So I'm going to hold this right here. I ground these down, cleaned it up, put a little bit of a taper on it. So now I got a tack weld. I'm just going to make sure it's straight. Yeah, everything's good. So now I can just go ahead and finish weld it. Axle's all welded up, ready to go back in. Only thing I noticed, the ring and pinion gears are pretty dry. They definitely need to be greased up. So what I like to use is, instead of going to my local hobby store or going online and buying grease for these things, I just go to my local auto parts store, get some of this synthetic braking caliper grease. So this stuff is awesome. It's perfect for anything RC, and you could buy a tub of it for less than $10. And while you're at the auto parts store, get a little brush like this. It definitely makes it easy to brush everything on the gears. And I've been using this stuff for a while. It's resistant to high temperatures, water, dirt, road salt. I mean, this thing's meant to grease up calipers on cars. So, I mean, they get really hot. They see all kinds of elements. So, it's perfect for gear sets. And it's way cheaper than the stuff you'll buy at a hobby store or online. And it's perfect. So, that's what I would recommend. So, I'm going to get this thing all greased up, reassembled, and get this thing back on the road. These things come with a couple little shims installed from the factory. So you're going to want to make sure that those are centered. That way when you drop your other axle housing half on, you don't distort the shim. There you go, and it just drops on right like that. And now you can tighten your screws. Alright, so I had to take both axles apart because I goofed. So, make sure when you have your locker, this is the pin right here that holds the spider gears together. You got to make sure you take that out of the spider gears, put it in your locker like so, and then drop it in your carrier assembly. Like that. So that was my problem. When I put these things together, it almost felt like a slipper clutch was in the axle. So that was the problem. So now I got to reassemble this. I got to take the front back apart, my bad, and I'll get this thing back on the road. So I was very pleased with the performance of the Mad Force with the lockers. At first I was worried that maybe turning radius would be affected, but it was a little bit, but not too noticeable, and the added traction more than made up for it. So if you're looking to upgrade the axles of your Mad Force, you can't go wrong with the hot racing lockers. So take care, like and subscribe, see you next time.